Welcome to Toast and Jams, a podcast about creatives for creatives and everyone else in between. My name is Alex Session, and today we'd like to welcome PC Williams.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. PC, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Yes, happily. I'm PC. I am a costume designer working in film and TV, but
Cool.
mainly film, but sometimes TV.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And did you start off in film?
No, I started off styling.
Yes, of course.
Yeah, so I started off in music, and then I moved from music styling into narrative long form. I actually did my first feature film before I did anything in music, actually, but then went into music and then came back and started back in TV and then switched over to films.
Cool.
But now if there's like a really cool like TV script and I feel like you can create a world, I'll be into it. But I really enjoy filmmaking.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the drink you've chosen is a Rubicon drink,
Yeah.
but we got the wrong one. But this is close enough that we could get, it's the mango, it's a fizzy.
It's a fizzy
Mango Rubicon.
You know, the mango, the can, the blue can.
Yeah, the classic.
Yeah.
Absolute classic.
Is like...
I'm a passion fruit Rubicon guy.
Are you?
That's my preferred one of that.
Interesting.
But why did you choose the mango Rubicon?
Mango is one of my favorite fruits.
Okay.
Of all time.
Yeah.
And so I lived abroad when I was a kid. And when I was with my grandparents, mangoes was like just something that grew out of around our house. And when I came back to the UK, it's the drink that just makes me think of that.
Nice.
So
That's a nice memory, a nice link.
Are we back to cheers?
Yes, we are.
I'm going to move my mic though.
Yeah, sure.
Oh. Cheers.
Cheers. We need a chink. Mm. That's not bad.
It's not bad. It's not. If this one tastes like a healthy version.
Yeah, I think that's the aim. I think it's spring water with a dash with a little bit of flavouring.
It's only 15 calories.
Yeah, it needs more. It's not the Rubicon we all know and love, basically.
No. But if I'm trying to be healthy, maybe I'll pick this one up.
But maybe this is the new.
Mm-mm.
No. Okay.
But I will drink it for the purposes of this podcast.
Okay, cool. And your song choice today, which we will always put a little link in the description so people can hear it because we don't play it on the actual video.
Okay.
You know, rights. The world of YouTube and rights. Yeah, exactly. But remind us of your song choice.
My song choice is Sweet Mother.
Yeah.
And
by who, though?
So when you asked me today, I had no idea the name of the artist.
Right.
Because I just know the song.
In the DNA it is.
Yeah,
of course.
It's literally like I could sing this song asleep.
But there's a lot of songs called Sweet Mother.
But there's only one Sweet Mother.
Sure. Right. Yeah.
So there might be other songs called Sweet Mother, but there's only one Sweet Mother.
I mean, that's the thing. As soon as when you sent over just that title, I could tell that was the relationship you had with it.
Yeah.
Because it's like, well, you don't know.
Yeah, how can you not know? It is the Sweet Mother.
But it's by Prince Nico and Mbarga.
Mm-hmm.
Right, cool. It's just for people to know.
Yeah.
You
should all, it's a very long song, but it's a very beautiful song.
It really is.
Yeah. So everyone should listen to it.
Yeah, it's great. When that song came into your life, what was life like for you around that time? Can you remember?
Do you know, I don't really have a memory, like a familial memory without that song. Like I think it's like...
It's not time specific.
It's not time specific. It's very much ingrained in like my entire childhood. I don't know. Okay. I don't not know that song.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
So there's not a time when it's like, oh, I first heard this song here. Like, I just have never not known this song.
Okay, cool.
Sorry.
Well, what we'll ask then is, what was life like for you in your teens?
But what do you mean? Because I feel like that's a very broad question with a very
kind of creatively,
creatively. Okay,
so
fine.
Thinking about like where your creative, where the seeds were planted for your creativity, and like looking forwards from teenage years, which are very formative years, right? Where were the first kind of the first flashes of creativity kicked off, and culturally, what was happening for you at that time? styling, I guess, like, can you go back to a time in your teens and pinpoint where interest began for that?
I mean, I went to a non-uniform school.
Right, that helped a lot.
Yeah. So like, I've never been interested in being part of like some homogenous group of people.
Yeah.
And
I still feel so sorry for people that went to schools with uniforms.
my sisters both went to schools with uniforms. We all went to different schools. Our parents wanted
Right.
us to like
Yeah, what was the reason for
grow
that?
individually.
Wow. So that was a specific choice.
Yeah.
Do you think that worked
Yeah.
in positive
We're
effects?
very like, I think we're all kind of big personalities.
Yeah.
And it gave us a space to be our own person without being someone's sibling.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. I don't think I've ever heard of parents doing that.
Yeah, we didn't. I went to the same school as my sister for 2 years when I moved back from Nigeria because we came back in the middle of year 5. And so we're in the same school, year 5 and year 6. And then I went to my secondary school and she went to a different secondary school. And then my younger sister's 8 years younger than me. So she was obviously always going to go to a different school. But I think like having gone to the school I went to, I am, not being bound by a uniform, getting to like choose what it is that I wanted to wear. I was always a bit sort of like left field in the way in which I presented myself. Like, I'd wear like my dad's like Ralph Lauren polos and like jellies with socks.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
My mum, we were a family that wear lots of like traditional garments. And when I was a kid, I didn't want to wear them really. Now as an adult, I'm literally living in like trad. Actually, one of the facilities guys said to me the other day at work, he was like, so this, like, you seem to always wear these like prints, like, what's that about? And I was like, I'm an African woman.
Yeah.
And he was like, yeah. And I'm like, as a black man, to ask me what is my wearing of prints about, like, you need to check yourself rather than asking me why I'm wearing this.
Yeah.
But as a kid, I wasn't necessarily that much into like, because it othered you. I was, you already feel othered because you're like.
Oh, as a teenager, you just anything to avoid that, right?
Yeah, but also as a teenager, like myself, who's like super tall, big, like loud voice, you're already othered visually in so many ways, right?
Yeah.
Then to like wear this traditional Nigerian outfit, it's like, oh God, Mum, can you please?
Yeah, but also as a teen, nothing your parents do or wear is cool for you.
Nothing your parents do or wear is cool for you, but at least they're not putting you in this outfit that's going to make you look different from everyone around you when you already look different from everyone around you.
Yeah, exactly.
So like, but I think that I remember we did this, me and my friends from school, when we were 12 years old, 12 or 13, I think we were 12. We started this thing called the Oscars night. And every Oscars, we would stay up all night and watch the red carpet and watch the Oscars. And there's photos of us. And I think the first photo of us is when we were 12.
Jokes.
And I've turned up in like an African print dress with like a head wrap.
It's because it was a special occasion.
Yeah, and that was a conscious decision that I had made, that is what I felt dressing up was.
There you go.
My friend Michelle, her sister worked at Vogue at the time, so she got like an amazing dress from the Vogue cupboards to wear. And there's like 5 of us sat on, me, Saba, Bryony, Michelle. Was Molly there? Maybe Molly was there. All 5 of us sat on this chair, like in this photo with like a Hollywood sign behind us. And
you should send that photo to us and we'll edit it in. Bing, here it is.
I need to find it. But I've always been, I think, it's TV, film, what you wear, what it says about who you are. They've always been like a conscious and subconscious part of who I am.
Yeah. As a teenager, again, like you're self-conscious. You already kind of mentioned that a little bit. But what kind of like street cultures were around? I kind of went through like Skater Boy, Reebok Classic Boy with Ralph Lauren shirts. I did them all, like ripped jeans and tartan shirts with Guns N' Roses and blah, blah, blah.
Are you still not doing that?
Yeah, a little bit. But Was there anything like that you kind of latched onto, or, you know?
So I did the whole like skater vibe, and then the slightly sort of like darker skater vibe, like Camden, big pants with like massive pockets, shag bands to here. Did that for a while. Then did the sort of like get my tits out at every possible moment possible, but wearing like a granny dress. So did that sort of like foundation.
With DMs.
Well, not DMs, always trainers, but like just like a granny dress from a charity shop, but that I'd cut down to here so that like my bra was on show. And that like, and then wearing like a pair of like, at the time I was really into high tops. Now you couldn't pay me to wear a high top.
No,
But I would like any sort of like high top. And I mean, like I wasn't brand specific. I was wearing like a Puma high top, an Adidas high top, a Nike high top, but like that sort of thing. Then I got into like drum and bass culture and like sort of like went down that sort of vibe. Then I got really into sort of like
Did you go to a lot of raves?
I didn't go to like raves, but I would go to like, there used to be this party in Camden in the Lock that we used to go to every week. And that was really fun. But yeah, I've never been a rave, like I can't stand smelly people. And that's what I associate raves with.
Yeah, I mean, it's true.
Yeah.
It's a room full of smelly people.
Yeah, so it's very uncomfortable for someone
You're
like
a carnival
myself.
fan, though? It's outdoors, so maybe there's a bit more fresh air for you.
So, you know, I went to carnival for the first time in, I want to say like 7 years last year.
Oh, wow, okay.
But I go to like...
It was good last year.
It was really good last year.
It's good every year, personally. That's my point of view, but yeah.
Yeah, the thing is, I really like Juve in New York.
Okay.
And I love like Labor Day Parade in New York.
I've not been to New York one.
It's to me, there's like a bigger West Indian community, like a bigger sort of like, well, not West Indian community, bigger Guyanese community.
Juve's a bigger thing generally everywhere else than London, like.
But it is like I don't see a lot of Guyanese people, and being half Guyanese, it feels like the one time of the year when I get to be surrounded by folks who share bloodline with me.
Yeah.
And I just find that like Notting Hill Carnival for me, it was never part of my upbringing. It was never something that like my dad doesn't go, he's Guyanese. It was never something that we like did religiously as a family. I didn't start going from a kid, whereas like I discovered Juve and Labor Day Parade on my own as like a 19-year-old in New York, and just was like, this is sick.
Yeah.
And that was my cool carnival, you know, like, but I like I don't like big crowds really. So I like when they do like Hackney Carnival.
I love Hackney Carnival, but so it doesn't seem to be.
It didn't happen last year, but it did happen the year before.
Yeah.
When the NTS had the stage by Tesco's.
Yeah. I hope they do it this year.
Yeah, I really hope. I like stuff like that. To me, I just don't want to be around like Aggie vibes.
Yeah.
And there've been many times I've gone to Carnival and folks are just Aggie.
Yeah.
And so for me, it's like, I don't.
Yeah.
And like, there's only so many soca tracks you can listen to before they all like become one.
True.
In my opinion.
Well, there's every year there's like 3.
Yeah.
Like I went to the Trini Carnival and it was like, you know, it was amazing. Juve was amazing. Juve was my favorite part of the whole experience. But yeah, like the thing with sport within London is the music spectrum.
Yes.
Massive.
Yeah.
And all the offshoots of all the different styles of dance music and everything, you know.
Yeah.
So when you go to something that, coming from that, and you go to something that isn't, you know, that's got 3 top tunes for that one season.
Yeah.
It's difficult. I was like, where are the other sound systems? Like, what's going on?
Do you remember when Red Bull used to have amazing sound systems at Carnival? They used to do these amazing parties under the bridge.
Yeah.
And like that, because that was the time when it was like
Major Lazer kind of times. Like,
yeah, Major Lazer times. Cricket times doing the summer barbecue. That was like fun carnival vibes.
Free drinks for everyone. Like, yeah, it was good.
I was like, I'm living my best life.
Yeah, it was good times.
But then I think it kind of, this thing feels like it's suffocating me. But then it just kind of, it changed a little bit, I think. Maybe I changed as well, probably. I was like less of a party head.
Yeah, and it probably both.
Yeah.
Probably a bit of both. It's inevitable, really.
We're getting old.
Yeah, it happens.
Our tastes are evolving.
Yes.
I'm kind of into where it's evolving, but it's evolving nonetheless.
I like to think I've got Carnival down to like this I know where to park. Like I drive to Carnival, I know where to park. I know how to just walk in real quick.
Where do you park?
I'm not saying. Because it will no longer be there. But yeah, I do my thing and like hit the spots I want to hit, and then I leave, you know, because I think if you don't know what you're doing, or if you don't have a plan and you just wander around and you do get caught up in the neggy vibes.
Yeah.
Like you just find yourself somewhere and like, ooh.
When you're trying to like meet loads of different people, it's like you can't go to Carnival trying to meet loads of people.
No.
Like that is fail.
Yeah.
You've got to go there, like 2 friends.
That's it.
Off
or
you go.
Your crew, like 4 people, but you stay together.
Yeah.
Or none at all. Like I think.
And you just bump into people, which inevitably you will bump into people.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So like the kind of, with now my son's in the world, the new trend I have is I go one day with him and one day without. And when I go with him, I see everyone.
Yeah.
And I don't plan to see anyone, but we go in and, you know, we have a good time, and then just everyone's there.
How old's your son?
He's 3. He turned 3 in April, so
wow.
He was 2 last. He's been every year of his life.
Wow.
Yeah, and long
head.
may that continue. Yeah. Yeah. What is it about clothing, and maybe more importantly, the people that you work with too, or the characters, or the people that you work with as a medium, that kind of excites you, like creatively, the challenges that it brings?
I think I feel very grateful that I get to be part of a group of people who get to tell stories. I think it's a privilege.
Yeah, for sure.
To get to
a responsibility.
tell. Yeah. A responsibility, but also a privilege to get to tell these stories. Like you're in a very privileged position to choose words on a page and bring them to life. And not many words on a page ever come to life, you know? So to be part of a group of people who are able to do that, and then to take those words on a page and enable it to become like a 4-dimensional living, breathing thing that someone can then see themselves reflected in, or see something that they aspire to or aspire for, or feel less alone because someone else has walked in the same path that they're currently in.
Yeah.
I think that's what I really enjoy about what it is that I do.
That's pretty cool.
Like I have no interest in creating work that feels disconnected to the real.
But it's funny because a lot of songwriters would say exactly what you just said in terms of why they write music.
Yeah.
It's to share experiences so that other people don't feel lonely about in their world and their experience.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool, that link, actually. The similarity.
Yeah, I also think it's very brave to get in front of the camera. And it's a bravery that I don't necessarily have, because there is a lot of vulnerability that you need to embody in order to do this job. So to be part of a group of people that get to cloak you, to feel brave enough to do what it is that you do,
cool.
is really empowering.
Definitely.
So yeah, I like it.
Do you think there would be anything else creatively that, if it wasn't for costume design and clothing, is there anything else you might, another outlet you might pick up or you enjoy?
You know, when I was at school, I was always part of like the school plays, but I was always behind the scenes. And then I thought that I wanted to be an actor, and I wrote to 17 magazine. Because they were giving you like a day in the life
I remember that magazine, yes.
And I got selected to have a day in the life as an actress. And I filmed for a day with Bad Girls. You remember that TV show, Bad Girls, in the prison?
Yep.
So
I don't know why, but I do.
It was like massively part of our like childhood.
Yeah.
So I filmed there for a day, and then I went to an audition maybe like 2 weeks later or something. And the audition made me feel really uncomfortable. Like,
why was that?
It was like, it wasn't necessarily one, it was what they were asking me to do, or they were the emotions they were asking me to tap into. But like just to have to do it in front of people.
It's really
on the
nerve-wracking.
spot. It was like, this isn't for me. But I love storytelling. And I think if you have any Nigerian friends, you'll know that we are storytellers. Like, we can spin you a story about waterfall and have a tap, babes. We
Yep.
can make it sound like the best thing that's ever happened. And
Well,
so
we had Inya on the show.
see,
and
classic,
he's
incredible
He's
storyteller.
pretty good at telling stories, yeah.
So, you know, I was always going to tell stories.
Yeah.
I just had to find the avenue by which I was going to tell stories. And I went to uni to study design, and I thought I wanted to be a fashion designer.
Mm.
And then graduated and spent 6 months being like, I don't want to do this. I'm basically designing by myself in a studio.
Because you can tell stories with
clothes,
with fashion design, but it's limited. I'd say you've got more freedom as a storyteller through clothing than a fashion designer would.
I think it's very different, because I think fashion gives people the space to dream. Fashion isn't about real life.
No, exactly.
And so you're telling a story that is fantasy, which I think is as important as like telling stories that feel grounded and true and that people can like immediately connect with. So I think that in fashion, the designers that I like, I don't necessarily want to wear their clothes, but I'm really interested in like the stories that they're telling through their clothes. But it's like, bro, this clothes is not for me. I would never, I'm not going to.
Well, I mean,
but I fantasize about the world.
Most runways,
that you,
right?
Yeah.
You know?
But you fantasize about the world that they're in. You fantasize about the dreamscape that they've come to get to that space. But it's not wearable, really.
No.
And then you come to designers, costume designers. And some costume designers do live in the world of fantasy, and that's amazing. But what I do isn't in that world. What I do is in a world which feels much more grounded. And it's like, I get to tell stories that more people can connect with rather than few.
For the many, not the few.
Yeah.
Cool.
Jeremy Corbyn.
Yeah. So you started off styling, right?
Yes.
In kind of the music world, would you say? I wanted to ask, what was the kind of from styling in music and still images, right? Or videos too?
Yeah, stills, videos.
Yeah.
Well, music and athletes, but yes, stills, videos.
Going from the start of your career in that kind of area, what's been the biggest kind of barrier so far for you professionally moving into where you are now? Like, is there a standout barrier that you had to overcome?
You know, I get asked this a lot, and I think that my answer is never really what people want to hear, because people want to hear about hardships, and they want to hear.
I don't want to hear anything. I just want to hear the answer. You know?
Okay, so because I can't really pinpoint like a hardship for me.
Yeah.
And that's not to say that things have been easy.
No, of course.
But it's like, I'm incredibly self-assured. So you can't tell me about myself. And so I can go into any space and I can take up space.
Yeah.
And I can like advocate for myself and I can advocate for others around me. So I feel like the transition from music to moving image, I went via the commercials route. So I started doing loads of commercials.
Which is so often the kind of the path, right?
Yeah.
For actors too and everything, you know.
And it's like, you know, where you actually start to make money and then you go back to making no money because you get on low budget stuff and you're like, I thought this was going to be better, but you have to see long picture.
Yeah.
But went through the commercials route, messaged an agency that I really wanted to sign with, and they were like, oh, we're not looking for anyone at the minute. I was like, cool. 2 years later, said agency messaged me for a meeting.
There you go.
And I was like...
What was it about the agency that made you reach out in the first place?
They have all the best people.
Right, okay. It was just the one to be with.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, cool.
And I just want to be around that. I want to be around folks who are going to like... You know, I was talking to Total Shift, but it's fine, right? I was talking to someone the other day and I was like, my last 2 projects... all of the heads of department, or the majority of the heads of department, have all been Oscar nominated heads of department. And on Thursday last week, I was on set with 2 Oscar-winning actresses and then 2 brilliant actors as well. So there's 4 actors on set. And I was like, that's the space. Like watching them perform, watching Alison Janney and Olivia Colman perform, is mesmerizing.
And inspiring.
And inspiring, and it makes me want to be better. It makes me want to like costume them better so that they can perform
And you know
better.
who might have an Oscar next?
Who? Me.
Maybe.
Do you know what is coming, inshallah? Amen.
You know, if you're putting yourself in that space, in that place.
I think so. I had a couple of friends this year get invited to the academy, which was like really exciting for them. And I was like, it's just, I keep trusting the process. I keep doing what makes me happy.
That's a great combo.
Following my instincts.
Yeah.
And what will be, will be.
Yeah. Cool, man.
Yeah.
Amen.
So yeah, there's no like, oh, there's a hardship I can think of. It's just, from going in that commercials world to going up for a $10 million show, having never done anything, have done one TV series which hadn't even come out yet. Getting that show, it was like, well, if I believe it, I can do it, and if it's what is meant for me, will never pass me by. So there might be a project that I really want, but if it's not meant for me, I'm not going to get it, and I need to get over the disappointment of not having it because it wasn't mine. And once I believe that, once I really, truly, like, that became part of my, like, daily practice, life is what it is.
Would you say you're a like goals-orientated person? You know, that you get some people who are like 5-year plan kind of people.
There's no 5-year plan.
No, okay.
But I have my main goal, like, I want the work I do to be brilliant.
Yeah, that's a great thing to aim for. And it means that all the work you do reaches a certain level. Yeah, that's cool.
But there is no...
But there's not like, once I do this thing, I'm going to do that next thing and I want to be there and then I want to be there.
No. I just want to be brilliant at my craft. I really want to be brilliant at my craft. I want to leave a legacy that goes beyond me. I want it to be not about how many awards I have won, but how many awards the people who've worked with me and have then gone off to be their own designers. How many their wins are my shared wins. You know,
sure.
we've invested so much of. They've invested so much of themselves in me, and I'm investing so much of myself in them. That's what I want. That's the goal that I have. Like, for them to do better than what I've done. And I'm doing pretty all right. So they've got high stakes to follow.
That sounds like a very good recipe.
Yeah. It's true. You really love this drink.
And you don't. I kind of enjoying the sugar. I had quite a long late night weekend, so I'm like,
I just don't like flavoured water.
Yeah. I'm not into the kind of can soft drink vibe these days. That's something with getting older I've left, is like sugary drinks. I can't do them.
And yet here you are down in this sugary drink.
Well, yeah, it's because I never get a chance, but also it's not as bad as a, can of Coke or something.
No, it is better than a can of Coke.
I don't know the figures.
I should have just asked you for a San Pellegrino bottle of water.
Yeah, I'd have been well up for that. Slice of lemon. When it comes to expression, like self-expression in clothing, right? Would you say that, I mean, it kind of goes for often with creatives, you can tell someone likes to express themselves through clothing, but do you think that in our kind of day-to-day lives that expression through clothing is lost a lot on general public?
I mean, I think I'm a wallflower.
Do you? I don't believe that. I don't believe that for a second.
I'm really conscious of the fact that, like, being nearly 6'3", anything I wear I can't be quiet, I
was kind of like hinting towards maybe like, it goes without saying that a lot of creative people in music, in art, in fashion, obviously use clothing to express themselves, right? But do you think it's kind of, in the kind of general public way on the high street, is it something that you think is slightly lost?
I think that
in this day and
the
age,
general public has a lot to contend with social media. And there is a real sort of pressure to look a certain way. And so to express yourself freely is actually quite risky
Mm.
in today's sort of like in the landscape
So
of today.
like going off the back of that, do you think it's diluted in terms of, or it's like there's less lanes to choose because
I
people
think
are
their
like,
lanes are still there, but I think that there's less sort of like agency.
but subculture's lost a bit these days, right? That's the general consensus.
Subculture's not lost. Subculture's just like
Shifted.
it's not we don't have the same sort of like visibility. So like there is loads of like subcultures doing really interesting things around, but like all we see is the Kim Kardashians and the Olivia Palermo's and the Tiana Taylors and you know everyone trying to emulate or copy them as opposed to
Well, that's
discovering what they want to be or who they want to be or
mm,
you know there is it's sort of like polarized because you do have this thing where you're more connected globally than we were ever connected when we were, you know, in our like heyday of like the, you know, the time that we met and grew up in like East London. But even with that global connection, there is still a pressure to be a specific type of person.
mm,
And anything outside of that is like you can be creative as long as you're creative in the way like Lil Baby's creative. You can be, you know what I mean? Like you can
mm.
that's cool, but anything else is like it's and until those celebrities bring it into their sort of like day-to-day wear, people aren't willing to it feels like a risky thing to do. It's actually really sad
Yeah.
because I think there are loads of kids who are really interesting with really, really interesting ideas.
And have a bright light that kind of gets like diminished.
Dimmed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is sad.
Social media there's loads of great about it, but there's also loads of like really negative things about it.
Oh, there's lots. And like I'm as a relatively new dad, you know, of my 3-year-old, I'm learning about, you know, or just kind of working out the best ways to approach limiting his exposure to it. Because, you know, I don't want him to really have access to social media until he's 16 at least, or maybe
What
older.
world are you living in?
I know, but it's something that I think I feel quite strongly about. And
I think it's
all
really
the advice that I see online, like of professional people talking about it, is don't let them have it. You
But
know?
I think, you know, this is growing up with African parents, they were really strict. And actually, I don't think that's really helpful. Because then I think you start doing things behind your parents' back. You lie because and actually I think it's about learning being more understanding and it being like a collaborative. Like I'm not a parent, so I don't have the same worries that you have. And you know, I'm not trying to preach to you, but
No, of course.
I just think that like I look at my friends whose parents were more malleable and they were friends much younger than when me and my parents became friends. And I really wish that I had a friendship. It doesn't mean I didn't respect them, but I really wish I had a more honest relationship with them rather than being quite secretive because of their strictness.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, it's like the best kind of the relationship you want with your kid is that if they're in trouble and they've got a problem, it's that they come to you with it.
Yeah.
Not hide, keep it from you. That's kind of the ideal, really.
And it's not even just if they're in trouble, it's like
if they've done something they think you're not going to be happy about.
You know, like if they experiment with something, it's like, oh my God, this happened. And you can just have conversations, you can talk to them.
But you can be strict and restrict their exposure to things in a loving and caring way, and that still keeps them on side as a
I think
friend.
it's like there's a balance there, but I think that like
it's about giving them the tools to know how to deal with it themselves, because it's the same as drugs, right?
Yeah.
Everyone's going to sample something at some time, but you need to be able to trust that they're going to do it in a responsible way.
Yeah.
Because they're going to do it.
Yeah.
And if you don't teach them that or give them the tools to move through the world properly, then they're going to fuck up.
Yeah.
And then it's going to be a worse problem, basically.
And I look at my sister's got 3 kids and they're amazing, very loud, but amazing. And the way she parents, I find really inspiring because
cool.
she's sort of taken what our parents did and
Especially for someone
relaxed
that
it.
went to a uniform school.
Yeah, I
I'm
know.
joking.
Can you
I'm
imagine?
joking.
But no, she relaxed it in a way where like her 8-year-old daughter is so open with her.
Wow.
I don't ever remember being that open with my mum.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, yeah. Also, those
That's
things
cool,
stay.
though.
Those things stay with you. Like even now at 38, I think I am still quite secretive, and
Mhm.
it's not like
Our dynamics don't change that much with our
no,
family.
yeah,
Siblings or parents.
yeah.
They stay
So
pretty concrete, really.
it's kind of like to avoid this, you should sort of like be a little bit more open.
But so you kind of touched on becoming friends with your parents.
Yeah,
What kind of age were you when that happened?
my mum passed last year, and I was 37 when she passed, and I think that had she passed 10 years earlier, it would have been a massive shame because I don't think that there was, I'm very different from my mum. And it took a lot for her to understand me and be okay with me, and for me to understand her and be okay with her,
Yeah.
be okay with our difference.
Mhm.
And I think our friendship really began late 20s, early 30s.
Mm.
So like when she passed, we knew she was sick, and I'd spent to stop working and to like look after her in the last couple of months. And I have no shoulda, coulda, wouldas, but I think that I would have had a heart full of shoulda, coulda, wouldas
Yeah.
had it been 10 years earlier.
Definitely, yeah.
And my dad's the same. Like my dad, I think me and my dad became friends when we stopped living together. Because we're so similar. So, and this is why I'm like, when I think about my parents being together, I'm like, what were they thinking? Like they're literally polar opposite people.
Yeah, right.
But like me and my dad are identical
Yeah.
carbon copies of one another, and him and my mum are polar opposites of one another.
So you and dad clashed, basically. You can't live together.
We would go through like we would be like really cool and like BFFs, and then one of us would have an argument, and neither one of us would want to apologize, and so we could go like 4, 5, 6 months without speaking
Right. Wow.
because
Okay.
we're so stubborn.
Yeah. And you're both the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, well, I don't understand why I have to apologize. So I would be living in the same house, and I'd come home and just go up to my room and like, whereas like when I moved out of home, something shifted in us. Like we're like best mates now.
But that's often the way with so many dynamics in a household. Same with me and my sister. We were just hated each other completely, and now we're just great friends because we don't live together. And even now, like with family, most family, it's short stints is cool.
Yeah,
it's like a bit longer, and it's like the cracks appear.
Yeah,
and everyone regresses to like teens or whatever it was. Like,
I also think because everyone's so different, like I'm the only creative one in my family, really.
Does anyone relate to your career path or career choices? Like, how has there been a lot of support from your parents?
My parents have actually been really supportive, which is very surprising because my family outside of my parents are really unsupportive. It's like, why is she going to St. Martin's to do art? Who does art? What job can she get with art? And my mum was like, that's what she wants to do, so I support her, and
Great, that's very cool. Was there expectations from earlier, would you say?
I think my parents just wanted me to be
a doctor
happy.
Or la 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 la.
No, I mean, I had two choices in life. Go into the arts or become a lawyer.
Okay.
Those are my two choices.
Yeah.
So either one I chose, they were happy with.
But you dabbled in acting, so lawyer, there's definitely
but it's part of the arts.
Some parallels with being a lawyer and acting.
It's chatting.
Yeah.
Which I'm kind of good at, chatting.
It's lying.
I'm not a liar. I tell the truth always. No, but it's performative.
Exactly.
Like,
that's what I mean, yeah.
But I think that like they just wanted me to do something that I loved. And if I loved it, then I was going to make a success out of it.
That's great.
And it was very sort of like whatever she enjoys, and as long as she's not sitting at home. Like when I wasn't working, my dad would be like, your job is to wake up every day and look for a job. Like as long as I was doing something with my time.
Yeah.
My dad, when I had my brand, do you remember the Reset? I was at 1940. Yeah, so I had a brand and I was selling at Reset. And my dad would like, I'd be like, oh my God.
DJ'd at that
you did?
a couple of times. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what happened to those little things? I like those little things that happened, like
What, reset and things like that?
stuff like
I think
that.
they still happen, but
I'm
just
just
like
out of the game.
yeah, we're not involved anymore.
No,
But you
no.
know, my dad like invested in my brand, and he like, you know, helped us,
Yeah.
and he gave me the money to help start it. And so
Oh,
they were
cool.
like, they
Really
were really good
supportive.
like that,
Yeah,
you know. And then when like my mum was the one who told me about St. Martin's as a university to go and study at, like I had
Yeah.
no idea about where I was going to go, and she was like, I think you should look at this college
Wow.
because it's meant to be really good for the arts. Like,
So your mum pointing in the direction of
Yeah.
St. Martin's, which that's pretty cool.
yeah. So you know, they're very supportive parents.
What was it like at St. Martin's?
If I could have my if I could do my foundation for 4 years and get my degree, I would have been the happiest kid alive.
So how much time did you spend studying there?
4 years, but I
Yeah.
did a degree,
Right.
and the degree had tutors that I just think are. There are some tutors that are amazing,
Yeah.
and there are some tutors who are there to collect a check. And
Such is the way with everything. But yes, yeah,
Yes,
100%.
But this is like, I mean, I ended up teaching there for 10 years.
Well, we're going to get to that.
So like, but I left when I was no longer able to service the young minds that I was there to service.
Yeah, so you stood by your kind of
Yeah.
convictions or whatever, and took yourself out of it when you thought you could no longer give.
Yeah.
That's the
And
right
some
thing
people
to
should
do.
have taken themselves out of it 20 years ago.
100%, yeah, or never
30
stepped
years
in
ago.
the first place.
Yeah, you know?
But
And
did
I'm
you-
not
but
backwards
did-
and coming
but did-
forwards. And some of those tutors, I'm just like, you're not teaching me, so I'm not coming to your session.
Yeah, right, fair enough.
You know?
Yeah, speak with your feet kind of thing.
Mm.
How did that go down?
I mean, fine.
Just,
What can you do?
You're marked cool and everything's all right, you know.
I graduated.
You did the work. You graduated.
I did the work.
Good, well done.
I was always, it's not that I wouldn't go to their sessions, but I'd be in college. I'd be in the workshops. I'd be working on my craft. I'd be learning from technicians who had really valuable pieces of information to pass on. But I'm not going to waste my time sitting down with someone who doesn't know anything and like is like there to just like no, thank you. It's not worth it.
So what was it like as an environment to be in? Like, was it really inspirationally rich? And were you able to like...
Yeah, I think everyone who goes to St. Martin's is a big fish in their small pond of a school.
Yeah, right, cool.
And then they come to this place, which is full of supposed big fishes, but now you're in an ocean. And it's like, shit, am I actually as good as I think I am? Like that person's doing this and this person's doing that and this person's doing that. And
did you have a feeling of that? Like a kind of anxiety?
yeah, it was. And it's not anxiety, but it's like you
Doubt.
question. I don't think it's doubt. I think it's just like questioning. And it's not a negative. It's like, I know I'm good, but these people are brilliant. Am I as good as I think I am? Or was I just good in my school?
Finding out. It's just about finding out.
And you like unlearn everything that you learn about what you think you want to be and how you think you want to create. And you learn these new skills and these new techniques. And you're like, now let me apply that to the things I'm interested in and see if it makes sense. And you surprise yourself. And you know,
I think we'd need to do that like every 5 years.
Bro.
I could just need to do that all the time.
Also, having like a tutor who's not scared to say this isn't good.
Yeah, that's the kind of teacher I want.
time-
That's the kind of teacher I want. I
But
don't
it's
want
the
someone
first
to
time
blow
I've
smoke up
ever
my
heard
arse,
it. Like as in like an arts space.
Okay.
This isn't good.
And
But
how
what
did
do you
that,
mean this isn't
how
good?
did that make you feel?
That's what had made me feel like, what do you mean this isn't good? This is
because
really
you're
good.
selfish, you're self-confident.
Yeah.
And
And then having to go like, okay, let me go back and
how
like,
did you process that? Like that first time?
I think I had to like, I think I was pissed off. Actually, I know I was pissed off. I was pissed off because I'm like, this person obviously doesn't have eyes.
Yeah.
And then I was like, if you think this isn't good, I'm going to come back next week and I'm going to show you what's good. And that's how I am.
Yeah.
If you tell me this is rubbish, give me a few days.
Yeah.
I'll come
that's
back.
a successful attitude to have.
Because it's not
Instead of-
personal.
Yeah, exactly right.
And I think we go into at school, as in GCSEs, A-levels, all of the work is based on something personal in your arts and textiles programs.
So what would your advice be to a student entering a degree?
It's not personal.
Yeah.
It's not about you as an individual. It's about your work, and your work is separate from you. And the second you realize that you are not your work, but it is an extension of your thinking and your current state, all of those negative comments they don't faze you. You actually use them as fuel to go and take it apart and put it back together again and see what you come up with.
Mm.
And this is the approach that I take into my professional life. Like, I can present an idea for a character to a director and I'm like buzzing, like, this idea is sick. I love it. We should definitely. And they're like, PC, it's not really what I was thinking. I don't really think it's right for where I want to take the character.
Yeah.
And it's so easy, if I'm taking it personally, for me to be like, they are saying my work is shit.
Yeah, if you allow ego to go, rah,
it's like, nah. I'm like, cool, I'll come back to you when I've got something else.
Yeah.
And I'll go throw it away and start again.
Yeah. And then it gives you a chance. That gives you a chance to question, well, why didn't they connect in the way that I've connected with it? And to kind of like
do that, but also
readjust,
to go like, what is it about the character that they want to see?
Yeah,
that
what's
I
their
haven't
vision
seen?
that you haven't seen? Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And then it's a conversation with the person, it's a conversation with the director, it's a conversation with the actor. And then I go back and I do my job, which is to say, this is how these words translate to this type of person that you want to create.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
So basically they said, come back and do your job. No, I'm joking.
They're like, why have we hired her? We need her to come. We need to get someone else.
Go away, come back and do your job properly.
But I also think that there's like you don't want to be scared to present a bad idea. And I think that's one thing I learned at St. Martin's.
That's a good lesson, yeah.
Yeah. Like, it's okay to present an idea that's kind of shitty.
Freedom to fail.
Yeah.
Well,
because
without
that's
freedom
a conversation.
To fail, without, exactly. Yeah.
Like this.
Yeah. Because without freedom to fail, you don't get anywhere.
You don't get anywhere.
There's no
and
progress.
You're the same, and you're not moving forward. And life is all about forward momentum.
Yeah,
you know?
For sure. But it's like that. Ding, 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 ding. Not like that.
Exactly.
That's
and
the
I think
conversation.
often we look like this, and you forget to look here. And actually, you should be looking around. You're looking at your peer.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And then together you rise.
Yes.
But if you're constantly looking up, you're missing all of the lessons and the moments that you could have.
That's what a Buddhist would say about.
Do you think I'm a Buddhist?
Thinking in the past and looking to the future, not living in the present. It's like 100% that.
Is that Buddhism?
Yeah, kind of.
Oh. Maybe I can add that to one of the things I need to investigate. Sorry.
That's all right. You can play footsie with me. So what happened after St. Martin's? So you studied, obviously, and then you went out into the real world.
Went out to the real world.
How did you find yourself back there teaching?
I was on a bus on the 73 in Angel.
And it just went there? No,
it literally just dropped me right outside. I was like, whoa, what am I doing here? The year after graduating, I started working with the Widened Participation Programme. And that is the university's initiative to get young people from lower income families and minority groups into arts education. Because we are traditionally the lowest enrollers into arts education because culturally our families don't see any value in studying it as a degree, but actually you should go and get a real job, law, engineering, medicine, whatever. So I've been doing it for a year, working with Camden Arts Centre.
Yeah,
and
cool.
CSM, doing the different programs. And then I was on the 73 bus and I bumped into my old tutor from my foundation, a lady called Gail Evans.
A moment of fate.
A moment of fate. My parents met on the 73 bus. That 73 bus has a lot to do with my life, you know.
Wow.
Yeah. Anyway, I was chatting to Gail and she was talking about what it was that I was doing. She was like, oh, we're looking for tutors actually for the foundation. You should apply. And I was like, okay. And I did. And on the foundation...
You didn't deliberate over that decision much? Just, that was it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I can relate.
But what I realised when I got in there is that, so let's say we had 40 tutors. I was by far the youngest person working there. And in most years of the 10 years I was there, I was the only Black tutor.
Wow.
And I'm thinking to myself, we're doing all this work to get people from minority backgrounds into arts education.
There's no examples.
And when we bring them into this space, bring them into this space, and they're just surrounded by
It's just like how to get it
right
wrong,
tutors.
like from the word go.
Yeah.
Like, you know,
Yeah.
yeah.
But I love
What's that like
teaching
now?
them.
Do you know what it's like now? Probably the same,
Yeah.
pretty much the same. That's a shame.
Pretty much the same.
But you enjoyed it.
I
How
loved
long
it.
how long were you working there
I was
for?
there either 9 years or 10 years, but I was there a
Wow.
while.
Yeah, it's a long time.
Yeah.
That's a healthy chunk of life to give, you know, to something.
I feel very blessed to have been able to have taught there and to have been able to have met a lot of those kids at
Yeah,
the
of
time I met
course.
them.
I mean, that's what makes the job, right? It's the
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
Do you think, though, becoming a teacher for 9-10 years, how do you think that affected your career and your skills and your kind of your outlook on your own creative path?
I think that like the kids kept me fresh,
Yeah. Okay.
and so I'm very grateful to them for that.
Yeah. Bless the kids.
Bless the kids. Please don't come and see me for a check because I don't have one. But the kids kept me fresh. I was challenged to think bigger, to have a bigger wealth of knowledge for which they can tap into.
Yeah, wow.
So I was forced to immerse myself more in what it was that I was teaching, and what I tried to do when teaching. I taught textile design, was look at textiles or any sort of like tactile surface outside of a textile format. So having to really go into the world of art, into the world of design outside of textiles, because the bigger the wealth of information, the artists and the films and the movements that I had to tap into, the more I was able to give to them. So I owe them a lot,
right,
in terms of my own artistic understanding.
Do you think it's played a key part in your careers in terms of where you are today now?
I think that I've always been interested in reading, and I've always been interested in like the accumulation of knowledge. And it was probably the time that I engaged the most in art. And I think that engagement in art has been definitely been beneficial for
because you kind of
now.
From a point of view, it's like you're doing it for them, so it's almost it's selfless in a way.
Yeah, because I think now I don't have the time to go to loads of exhibitions.
Yeah, of course.
But
yeah,
I had to, and actually
That's
I was
cool.
learning doing that, you know.
Yeah,
and I wish I invested in myself and my own acquisition of knowledge in the way I invested in it for them.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Does that make
cool.
sense?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
So yeah, I loved it.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's what intimidates me is the expectation of knowledge that I should have for them. That's what intimidates me and scares me.
But you know, you're not going to have everything.
No, I know, exactly.
And they're going to teach you stuff.
That's the people pleaser in me, because I'm like, I want to make sure everybody's happy. And like, yeah.
My love, that's not good. People pleasing gets you nowhere.
I know. Tell me about it.
You know?
And we'll go for a drink and have that conversation all the time. So leaving St. Martin's, this time as a post tutor.
Yeah.
What did it look like? How did you move into costume design?
So I had an amazing boss, Joe Simpson.
When you say boss, what's the capacity like?
So
what's the dynamic?
she was the curriculum leader for fashion and textiles. I taught in the textiles pathway, and then sometimes in the fashion communication pathway, but that's sat under graphics design. So there's different curriculum leaders. So she was my boss. And I was doing loads of commercials at the time whilst teaching. I was only teaching 1 day a week at CSM.
Oh, right.
So either you do 1 day a week or you do 2 days a week. There were some years where I did 1 day a week. Some years I did 2 days a week. Some days I did 3 days a week. But at the time, towards the end, I was doing my 1 day a week. And I was doing my 1 day a week because I was really busy with the music stuff. I was really busy with commercials. And I couldn't commit to 2 days every week for the whole term. I would take up extra days if they needed me to, or if I was free, but I wasn't. And she was actually really amazing, because when a job came in and I'd be like, Joe, I've got this job come in and she's like, don't worry, I'll cover you. You can just do my session in a couple of weeks. So she's I'm so grateful to her.
You need someone like that to allow you to progress.
You need someone like to give you the space.
She could have been like, nope.
No.
And then you'd have been stunted, basically,
Yeah.
like in that moment, you know. Yeah.
So she was amazing. When I decided to leave, it was after COVID or during COVID, the year when COVID was on. So my last year was the COVID year. 2021. And I had just come back from Belfast shooting a show. And we were doing all the teaching online. And I was like, this feels so...
Of course, online teaching.
So awful. Like, I want to touch things. I'm a tactile person.
Yeah.
You're showing me on a screen and half of the kids don't have their screen. I mean, sometimes, no. But some people don't even have their screens, their cameras on. And
yeah.
I was just like, this does... And then there was a lot of like, what's it called? Bureaucracy going on behind the scenes. And I just thought, fuck this. Like, you guys are trying to turn what is really the best year of your like arts educational life into a money spinning business with no regard for the young people who are coming to study there and the spaces that they're coming from, what they have to offer. And I just feel as though I've now done this show. I've now been put up for this other show. If I get this show, I can't come back. And I got the show, and so I was like, I'm not going to be back next year. Thank you very much. And left.
And that was that your first big break, a big success, you would say?
No, I think my first big success would be my BAFTA win for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, that would be like the first sort of.
Because some people are funny about awards, and some, you know.
Awards are a funny thing because
what's your
judge, like, it's
opinion on awards? Because you used the BAFTA as you know,
yeah,
as the point.
I think
you didn't name a show, you didn't name a film or anything. It was the BAFTA.
Yeah, I think the BAFTA because my mum was with me.
Ah, okay.
And my mum got
holds a lot more weight in that respect. Yeah.
My mum before she died got to see all three of her kids do something that mattered to them.
Amazing.
My two sisters getting married and me winning a BAFTA, and to me,
that's a beautiful thing.
That would always be my thing. I also think that awards are funny because who judges these things? Contemporary design is never really given a look in. We are considered to be easy. Like it's not really much work.
Yeah.
So for a contemporary design show to win a BAFTA, I think it says a lot about people seeing the craft of the type of design that I do.
Being seen.
Yeah, but no, not me as a specific entity, but but the type, like contemporary design being seen, because I think it's really difficult to design a contemporary show, a contemporary film. There's so much more you have to consider because you're not bound by the rules of a period. And folks take that for granted.
Yeah.
And so when, like on this year, I was on the jury for Best Costume for BAFTA. Sorry, my love. And like the shows that were nominated were The Great, period. The Crown, period. Silo, which is like fantasy, sci-fi, like
is that because
future.
People have like a misguided understanding of what like
people think it's hard to do. They think it's harder to do contemporary design. Right. I mean, to do period design, and it's like hard. How everything is there for you.
It can't change because it's in history.
Yeah, and I'm not knocking period designers because what they do is, and I
it can be, you know, yeah.
I loved what Sharon did with The Great. I thought that episode is phenomenal.
Who's Sharon?
She's the designer of The Great. She actually won. She won the BAFTA this year for Best Costume.
Okay.
So cool. I love what she did with The Great, and I think that her sensibility and the attention to detail in her design work is next level. I think that shows that aren't a period show just don't always get a look in. Yeah. And so to have a look in and to win is really nice. And that's why a lot of award shows separate costume. They do costume fantasy, costume period, costume contemporary, so that everyone has a chance.
Yeah, that's cool.
But I think if you just have costume, like the BAFTA just have costume.
Takes the power away from the award a little bit, or the weight of it slightly.
No, because there's so much stuff being made. Like how many, like if you look at this year's Emmy for your consideration, for Best Contemporary Series, it's 3 A4 sides worth of shows.
Okay.
As in, that's, you know, and then you've got Best Limited Episodic. There's like 2 A4 sides. There is so much work being made, and I think there is so much space to celebrate more people that I think it's quite nice that we have that. We don't have that yet with BAFTA, but I hope that like in years to come, we have a space where we can celebrate contemporary design, we can celebrate period design, and we don't feel like we're having to compete against one another and we're having to sort of like explain why we feel one is better than the other. I think they both have their merits and should be viewed as such. Sorry, I got really sort of like...
Do not apologise. Yeah. Ever.
Okay, I take it back. Oh.
Yeah. You recently worked on the Amy film.
I did.
And I wanted to ask you, what are the kind of challenges that you face when you're designing a wardrobe for a public figure that's like very well loved and very well known for their own personal style? That must have been a pretty tall order, right? What were the kind of challenges that you faced working on a?
So I think the first thing to recognize when you take on a project like that is that you can't please everyone. And so you've got to go into it knowing that you're going to receive abuse. Yeah. Because some people are going to be upset at the decisions that you made and the decisions you chose not to make.
Yeah, of course, 100%.
So I can't go into a project like that wanting to make everyone happy. All I can do is go into a project like that and create something that I can be proud of. Tapping into my emotional connection to Amy, my emotional connection to Amy's style, subtracting all the things I wasn't necessarily fond of within her personal aesthetic.
Yeah.
And highlighting the things that I was.
Yeah, cool.
At the end of the day, like, I'm not making a documentary.
No.
It's a piece of cinema. And so you have creative license to tweak things.
Yeah.
When Amy was alive, it was a time where we quite happily berated people very publicly.
Disgustingly, yes. Yeah.
And I think if we're all really honest with ourselves, we feel as though we have a lot to answer for, a lot to answer to. And so there is this sort of, I think a lot of people's responses are, but you know, this thing of like, I want to protect Amy, is coming from a place of trying to make right a wrong that you've made back in the day.
That's a really good point to bring up in terms of like, if we're talking about the public as an entity.
Yeah.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah.
Collective guilt.
Collective
and
guilt.
then collective protective guilt.
Yeah.
Wow. I hadn't thought about that.
That collective guilt is not my guilt.
No.
And I can't take the weight of that guilt.
It's got no place in the process of the film.
No.
No way.
And so, you know, I know that I knew when I was making it, I knew that when I got offered the role and I took it, that it was either going to like be a massive success or people were just not going to get it. Fuck what people think. I'm really proud of what we did.
Yeah.
I'm really proud of my team. I watched it for the first time at a press screening. It was me and 4 journalists. I was sat in the back. I think I was getting on a plane that evening or the following morning to go to Nigeria to shoot a film.
Okay.
And I came out of that and I called Misty, my assistant costume designer. I was like, the crowd looks sick. Like the crowd of that film.
Yeah.
I was back in 2008, 2009.
Yeah, right, exactly.
And
that was the connection. That was the biggest point of the connection that you had with it.
I loved Amy's voice, and I, like everyone else, was sort of like not very nice about her addiction. But I think that I'm a different person in 2024 than I was in 2008. And I can't carry the weight of that girl's actions into what I do going forward as a woman now, you know?
Mm.
So that's how I approach a film like that.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
No, thank you. It's mad how, as a nation, we have our attitude to alcohol and addiction is so disparate, you know, in terms of like encouraged, fully, wholeheartedly encouraged at every opportunity. And then when someone's got a problem, it's like just beaten down, you know.
I will say though, I think that we have a lot more, we're a lot more understanding about addiction now than we were back then. I think the conversation around addiction is different.
Yeah.
There's more empathy.
There's a lot more
and
empathy
compassion,
going on, in the conversation
than there
which
was
is
then.
better. Yeah,
I think
for
then
sure.
it was like, what a smackhead.
Yeah. Yeah,
You
really
know?
dismissive attitudes.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot more understanding now and empathy.
Yeah.
Which is good. We need more.
We need more.
There's never too much empathy in the world.
But we're all learning. And we're not no one of us is ever going to be perfect as long as we just keep on that journey.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Here's a little quick fire question.
I'm ready.
What are some of PC Williams' do's and don'ts when it comes to styling?
Ooh, do dress for your body.
100%. I always say this to people. And you can spot someone when they haven't, and it's like,
I have been seeing some terrible wedding dresses on Instagram.
Oh, wow, okay. Where have you been looking at what?
No, so basically, me and my friend Kusi, who's a stylist and designer, I think you know Kusi actually.
Right.
He's really good friends with Ketchy.
Yeah.
You know, we send each other memes, like our whole Instagram like thing is just memes.
Okay.
And there are some awful decision making going on online, and we like to share it.
Where are the sources coming from for these wedding dresses?
Well, there was a wedding dress.
Or was it private accounts, like people you know?
No.
Okay.
The explore page.
Okay.
The explore page. Not IRL folks that I know. So yeah, do dress for your body.
Yep.
Don't follow fashion.
100%.
Style over fashion any day and every day.
Also, if you don't follow fashion, things in your wardrobe last.
Yeah.
If you buy pieces that, because if you do follow fashion, suddenly things start to look like, oh no, I can't really wear that anymore. Do you know why? Because it had its time last year. It's gone. But if you don't do that,
you're timeless.
There you go.
Listen.
So do dress for your body.
Yeah.
Don't follow fashion.
Don't follow fashion.
If you do 5, let's do 5.
Okay.
If we can stretch to 5.
Do have fun.
Yeah.
Clothing shouldn't be boring. Even if you're going to wear all black. Have fun. Like what you see. We're all evolving every day. Our bodies change. Love that body in whatever shape or form.
And our views of ourselves too.
Yeah.
How we view ourselves,
But physically, we change.
Yes, of course.
And we are constantly finding fault with our physicality. And so we're never comfortable in the things that we put on because we're finding fault in the physical. And this thing doesn't hide enough of this, or this there's too much of this. And you have to just love this as it is today. If you love that, anything you wear, you're going to walk out and rock it with style and like confidence. And number 5, don't be scared to get it wrong.
Bravery. Yeah, 100%. And I would send that message to teenagers.
Yeah.
Just go for it.
Try new things.
Because, you know, in hindsight, the coolest people were the ones that were just so brave.
Yeah.
This girl, Sarah, she used to just put Adidas like logos and dyed as well, like different colors in the back of her head. And it was just mad. It was the first time I'd ever seen anyone do something like that, you know, like 13, you know.
What's Sarah doing now?
She's like a pretty big DJ now. She's, you know, went into the music and she comes from that kind of background. But yeah, you know, no fear.
No fear.
It's really cool. A young PC Williams starting out now, not necessarily going to study at St. Martin's, but starting out as a stylist or costume designer. What advice would you give them?
I would say don't let yourself be pigeonholed, because I think it's really easy to be pigeonholed into being a specific type of designer, a specific type of stylist. Challenge yourselves with the stories that you want to tell.
Nice.
because through that you get to like try different types of design.
Mm-hmm.
Don't look up, look across. Work with your peers. Grow together. Make mistakes together. Learn together. If you can, which I still haven't worked out how to, but if you can, try to have a healthy work-life balance. It's very, when your hobby becomes your job, the thing that you spent time doing for fun is now the thing that you earn your living from. You don't always replace it with a different hobby. Try to replace it with a different hobby.
And I would add to that and say, try to keep the fun. Because if you lose the fun, you lose the thing you loved to work.
Yeah. And actually, I would say that to this day, I still feel like I still find it lols that I get paid what I get paid to do my job. I think it's hilarious. Like I have so much fun with my team on a day-to-day basis. Yes, there's times when it's stressful. Yes, there's times when there's pressure, but I wouldn't change it. Like I am living my like wildest dream.
Great.
And it's like a fun ride, you know? So yeah, I would say that. And then I would say it's easy to say what you want. It's harder to say what you don't want, but actually it's more important to say what you don't want.
It's more important to get an understanding of what you don't want, especially from at a younger age.
Yeah. To understand that is
I'm still
key.
learning that one.
I think we're all still learning that one.
Yeah, I'm still learning that one.
I feel like all of these things could actually apply to me today. So thank you, me.
Yeah. Well, it's ongoing, isn't it? And no lesson is always fully learned, right?
No. And actually, I think as people, we're like constantly progressing and we're constantly evolving, and life is really boring if we don't. And so I'm grateful that I surround myself with people who challenge me and who force me to be better and who are really excited about what we do. And I think that like we have fun, but we're clued in, and every day is a day to like go and live out this dream and then like talk about it tomorrow and be like, oh my God, can you believe you did that?
Yeah, 100%.
You know?
Yeah.
And we aren't full of ego. So there is no such thing as, it's not me. It's the team, it's the community, it's the family. You know, that's how I look at what I do. Like I work in a community of people who make costumes for a living. Yeah. And who tell stories.
Yeah.
It's cool. It's fucking cool.
Yeah, it is fucking cool.
Yeah.
I really like that. Like, I just really like the link to the storytelling thing and the way you talk about it.
Thank you.
It's cool. And I'd never made that connection between costume design and songwriting, like the way you put it actually near the start, I think it was. But yeah, it's cool.
I think that it can be seen as just like playing dress up, which is what when people say wardrobe, I'm like, ugh, it's not wardrobe.
That's really reductive.
Yes.
Like, yeah.
But it's also it can be quite academic what we do.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And I think in that, like, you know, you do so much reading, not just of scripts, but of like research to come up with these ideas. And I think there is real thought and feeling and a lot of self that goes into trying to connect with folks.
But this is why I wanted to get you on, because I knew that as someone that comes from a creative world, you know, and in the same sphere of creativity, I knew there was more to talk about it, and I knew you were the right person to talk to you about it. So thanks.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much.
Thank you
for joining us today. It's been a real good chat.
Thank you.
Really, really enjoyed it.
It's because it's been like 10 years. That's why you enjoyed it.
Yeah. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching Toast and Jams. If you enjoyed this episode, hit like and subscribe to stay updated. And to hear our guest tune selection, check out the playlist or the link in the description. Let us know your thoughts in the comments, of course, and see you next time. This has been a joint production between Toast and Jams and Allan Brothers Films.